Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I'm Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me today is Jay Huseman, and we are here for the Richmond preview for the NASCAR Cup Series. Season is winding down. This isn't the last race, but it's pretty darn close, Jay.
Yeah, getting down to it, and again, as the summer wraps up and the regular season wraps up, having that cookout sponsor on the race, I think, is kind of fitting. I noticed that they're sponsoring the Richmond race as well now.
Okay, so and I know we've got a few drivers on the entry list that are going to be going for qualifying, but it looks like everybody's going to be in this week.
Everybody will make it. The initial list had 39 teams for 40 spots, but the number 44, which is a New York racing team we looked up, has withdrawn. Doesn't say why, and it doesn't say who the scheduled driver was going to be, but it has withdrawn. So for open cars, again, some of them are obviously regulars, but we know there are now open teams per the latest court ruling. Noah Gragson in the number 4, Noah Gragson. Bubba Wallace in the number 23. The third RCR team, though, number 33, that'll be Jesse Love this weekend. Then you got Todd Gillen in the number 34. The number 35 is Riley Herbst, and the number 38 of Zane Smith. Tyler Reddick in the number 45. And the number 67, we've been talking about him, Corey Heim, where he may end up next year because he is not going to be in the Truck Series. This is one of his scheduled starts. I know he wasn't able to make the last one. But he will qualify for sure here at Richmond. And I imagine that is a 2311 race team entry.
I was going to say, yeah, he is with 2311. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be racing with that organization next season. All right, now the Cookout 400 at Richmond Raceway will be Saturday, August the 16th. That is a 3/4 mile asphalt oval. The race starts around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the USA Network, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So a little pre-race coverage there. Radio coverage is on MRN and SiriusXM NASCAR Channel 90. The distance is 300 miles over 400 laps. Stage 1 will end on lap 70. Stage 2 on lap 230. And the final stage ends on lap 400. So kind of interesting there. Now the practice and Busch Light pole qualifying will take place on Friday, August the 15th. That'll be on True TV, MRN, and SiriusXM at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the race, the actual race will be on Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. So, Jay, we've got quite a few insights here to talk about.
And when you're talking about Richmond Raceway, you're talking about history, because this weekend marks the 137th running of a NASCAR Cup Series race at Richmond Raceway.
And the first race held at Richmond in the Cup Series was in 1953, and they've held a Cup race every year since 1955.
And I know it's not here in these notes, but I think at one time this was a dirt track. I noticed that's not in here, but if I'm not mistaken, it was a dirt track at one time. But you mentioned that this is only the second year since 1959 that Richmond has hosted only one race. 2020 pandemic season was the other.
Also, Richmond is the fourth of 6 short track races in 25 for the Cup Series.
Only one of the 13 Richmond winners was under the age of 30. Again, this is a veteran-style track,
yes.
And we've seen that in some of the other series of what it takes to win at Richmond.
And the Richmond race last August had 3 cautions. That's tied for the fewest on a short track in the next-gen era, which goes from 22 to the current year.
And the last 3 Richmond races had a caution in the final 10 laps. This is kind of more what we expect from a short track.
And again, the stage winner has not won the last 8 Richmond races.
Now, 5 of the drivers locked into the playoffs have won at Richmond before. You got Kyle Busch with 6 wins. He needs it. Brad Keselowski with 2, needs it. Austin Dillon needs it. Chris Buescher and Alex Bowman each have 1 as well.
And the driver who led the most laps failed to win in the last 8 Richmond races. Very similar to the stage winners.
Yep, and the same in the truck series. That's kind of amazing to me. Driver who led the most laps won all 3 short tracks in 2025 at other tracks. So we'll see if that one can be broken here at Richmond, because it does not seem conducive at Richmond.
Okay, and the last 2 races did not have a DNF. The first time in Cup Series history, consecutive races have had no DNF.
Wow, that is amazing. I know we've been talking about that. We don't see the DNFs like we used to. So
Yep.
how about that? Now, the number 43, and this is just by car number, the car number 43 and number 11 cars are tied with 13 Richmond wins each. Richard Petty won all 13 of them for the number 43, while 5 different drivers have won at Richmond in the number 11. Denny Hamlin actually leads that category with 5 of them. Cale Yarborough had 3, and Darrell Waltrip had 3. And Sharon, you're going to have to help me out. Okay, I remember Bill Elliott in the number 11. I wouldn't have remembered Ned Jarrett in the number 11, though.
The last 5 short track races ended with a green flag run longer than 60 laps. That's the longest streak since 1988.
And that's where we talk about that not having overtime either. How about that? Now, Chase Briscoe is the only driver to finish inside the top 10 in all 3 of the short track races this season. He's been on fire lately, so look out.
We'll see what happens. Hopefully, he's another driver looking for a win. Kyle Busch completed all but 1 lap at Richmond in his 38 starts there. He's completed 14,243 of the 14,244 possible laps. That's amazing.
Now, Kyle Busch does lead all active drivers with 16 short track wins, but ranks 17th in points earned on short tracks in this next-gen car. That's one of the spots where we've talked about Kyle Busch kind of struggling with this next-gen car.
And 19% of Denny Hamlin's Cup wins came in his home state of Virginia. That's 11 of 58 races.
I knew he had several, huh? Now, the last 3 Richmond races were won by 3 different manufacturers, and right now we only have 3, so quite the variety there. So that might influence. I know you and Taz will talk about odds on Friday.
Now, 5 drivers have posted their first career NASCAR Cup Series win at Richmond Raceway. That includes Casey Kane back in 2005, Tony Stewart in 1999, Kyle Petty in 1986, Neil Bonnet in 1977, and James Hilton going all the way back to 1970.
We talked about that in a little bit in the truck series, of what their age, and only 5 drivers in their career, the first one at Richmond. We'll have to look at that when we're looking at possible winners of who might be able to add to that list. Now, race winner didn't lead until lap 300 in 5 of the last 6-man races, which includes the last 3.
All right. Now, the deepest in the field that a NASCAR Cup Series winner has started at Richmond is 32nd, and that was Kyle Busch in the spring of 2018.
And this could add to that streak of DNFs because every car was running at the finish in 2 of the last 3 Richmond races. So we'll see if they can continue that streak.
And the spring 24 Richmond race was the first time that the Cup Series ran wet weather tires on an oval.
I remember that. That was very historic. And there were at least 3 green flag pit stops a race in the last 8 races at Richmond.
Now, 5 of the last 8 races at Richmond ended with a pass for the win in the final 10 laps, including each of the last 3.
Now, going back to Watkins Glen, Trackhouse Racing placed 3 cars in the top 10 for the first time in their history. So big shout out to Trackhouse Racing there.
Yes. Now, Chase Elliott still completed all but 1 lap. He's the only driver to do it through 24 races, and he did it in the last 2 years.
I know people talking about him not winning as much, but he is still Mr. Consistency by all means. Yeah. AJ Allmendinger is going to make his 100th career Cup start this weekend with Colleague Racing, more than any other driver in team history.
A total of 52 different drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series have made their series debut at Richmond. The most recent was Parker Retzlaff, who did it last year on August 11th.
And Kyle Larson's, we've been talking about this too. Kyle Larson's average finish over the last 12 races, 19.25. And that's the worst over 12 races since joining Hendrick in the Hendrick Motorsports at the beginning of 2021. Yeah, we've been talking about a rough slump he's in.
He has been in a slump. Now, Alex Bowman is making his 350th career Cup start this weekend. 3 drivers have won in the Cup Series on that milestone of 350. Lee Petty at Martinsville in 1959, Bill Elliott at Rockingham in 1992, and then Tony Stewart at Talladega in 2008.
Now, right with him is Ryan Blaney making his 350, but his is consecutive Cup start this weekend, and that's the 5th longest active streak.
And Richmond is the only oval Ryan Blaney doesn't have a top 5 finish, which is just amazing to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't have believed that one, huh?
Wow.
Christopher Bell wants to break this streak. He's had a speeding penalty in each of the last 3 races at Richmond. You don't want to do that.
And Toyota is 2 wins away from reaching 200 victories since joining the NASCAR Cup Series in 2008. So we've got some clinch scenarios here. I will tell you, for the Cup Series, I think we're down to 2 races.
We are indeed here at Richmond, and then we'll wrap up at Daytona. With that, the following 13 drivers have clinched a spot in the 16-driver postseason field. That means there's 3 spots open. We got William Byron, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, Joey Logano, Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Josh Berry, and Shane Van Gisbergen. And those are red just as they are in points right now. But to clinch via points, again, there's only 2 races left. So if there's a repeat winner by a driver who cannot advance to the playoffs, drivers can clinch by being 62 points above the 3rd winless driver in the standings. Same requirements for points would be if the new win comes from Tyler Reddick or Alex Bowman. In that case, Tyler Reddick would need 30 points in order to clinch. Alex Bowman, a little bit lower, would need some help. If the new winner is Chris Buescher, another winless driver lower in the standings but still eligible to advance to the playoffs, a driver would have to be 61 points above the 2nd winless driver, and Tyler Reddick would need almost max of 54 points. Now, drivers that can clinch on their win alone: Tyler Reddick, Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, Ryan Preece, Kyle Busch, Ty Gibbs, AJ Allmendinger, Brad Keselowski, Carson Hocevar, Eric Jones, Michael McDowell, John Hunter Nemechek, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Zane Smith, Austin Dillon, Daniel Suarez, Justin Haley, Todd Gilliland, Ty Dillon, Noah Gragson, Cole Custer, Riley Herbst, and Cody Ware. So they are still all eligible based on all other requirements. There is some drivers, but we've talked about it, not necessarily getting your first win there. I'm on a tough list to get on. Additionally, the regular season championship could be clinched by William Byron, but he would need some help. 42 points. Does need some help, but could happen this weekend.
The NASCAR Youth Series is going to compete at Richmond Raceway this weekend. Richmond Raceway has announced that the NASCAR Youth Series presented by Cookout will showcase the sports stars of tomorrow, August 14th through the 16th. Drivers ages 5 to 16 will race in the drift and bus parking lots near Labrium Lot C, providing fans with even more action leading up to the Cookout 400. NASCAR Cup Series race on Saturday. This event is free for spectators. The NASCAR Youth Series presented by Cookout is the sanctioning body for the quarter midget racing division of the United States Auto Club, that's USAC. It is a family-oriented motorsport that involves children ages 5 to 16 racing in specially prepared cars. The cars, rules, and safety procedures are designed specifically for kids. Now, quarter midget racing is divided into 15 classes and divisions. Kids typically race on an oval dirt, concrete, or asphalt tracks approximately 1/20th of a mile long. With almost 60 NASCAR Youth Series sanctioned clubs located all across the country, thousands of kids ages 5 and up, along with their families, participate in quarter midget racing. Now, a quarter midget car is a scaled down version of an actual midget racer. Cars are built around tubular frame and are fully suspended with springs and torsion bars and shocks. The bodies are fiberglass. The engines are single cylinder and are manufactured by Honda and Briggs and Stratton. So pretty cool to see the youth series racing this weekend out there at Richmond Raceway.
That's huge, and I love to see that kind of involvement with NASCAR and the youth.
Yes, indeed. And we mentioned in our truck series preview a lot of activities taking place at Richmond this week. I'm going to just give you the headlines here. If you want to hear more details, do listen to our truck series preview where I give those details. Friday, August the 15th, the NASCAR Foundation Speediatrics Fun Day Festival will be taking place. Also on Friday, Who's Your Driver Tailgate with Ross Chastain. That sounds like a lot of fun. And on Friday and Saturday, the 15th and 16th, is the NASCAR art car show. So a little bit of art mixed in with racing. And then Saturday on the 16th is the Brittany Anderson celebrity guest chef appearance in the Torque Club. So a lot to look forward to out at Richmond Raceway this weekend, Jay.
There is, and before we go to the points here, there's more history that we didn't go through all the notes, obviously, but I did want to read what I was saying earlier. Okay, here. The track was a half-mile dirt track through the first race of the 1968 season. So from 1953 to 1968, 24 races that it started on dirt. I knew it had a dirt history in it somewhere.
You were absolutely correct.
Now,
for the
point. We're going to go into the points. All right. So, mention William Byron battling for that regular season championship. I'm going to go through the points as they are. Sharon will cover the playoff setup. William Byron is your leader, has a 42-point lead over Chase Elliott. Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell at minus 81, Bell at minus 85, as well as tie for Kyle Larson at minus 85. Ryan Blaney at minus 102 and Tyler Reddick at minus 111. Mathematically, should have a shot at it. Realistically, I think it's down to William Byron and Chase Elliott. 81 points in 2 races, gaining 40 points on a driver in both races. Not likely. So that's how they are in the regular season standings. Then you got Tyler Reddick, as I mentioned, in 7th. Then Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace. Ryan Preece is listed in 12th. Joey Logano, 13th. Ross Chastain, 14th. Kyle Busch, 15th. And Austin Cindric is in 16th. But Sharon's going to explain why some of those drivers aren't in the playoffs.
Yes. When the playoffs begin, NASCAR reseeds all of the drivers. And so it's based on wins and their playoff points. Denny Hamlin is at the top of the list now. So he has the 4 wins and 24 playoff points. And in second place is none other than Shane Van Gisbergen. He has the 4 wins and 22 playoff points. Then you go down to the drivers with 3 wins. That's 2 drivers. Christopher Bell in 3rd place with the 3 wins. And Kyle Larson in 4th place with 3 wins. Then in 5th place is William Byron with 2 wins. He's the only driver with 2 wins. Now the drivers with 1 win, starting with Chase Elliott in 6th place. And then Ryan Blaney in 7th. Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, Joey Logano, Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, and Josh Berry are both below the cut line, but they move up to 12th and 13th place by virtue of their wins. Now, the drivers that don't have a win yet are going to close up the top 16, and that's Tyler Reddick will go to first. He is 117 points to the good in 14th place. Alex Bowman is 15th He's 60 points to the good. And in 16th place is Chris Buescher, who's now 34 points to the good, above the cut line. The drivers below the cut line are Ryan Preece, and he is down 34 points. Kyle Busch down 102 points. Ty Gibbs down 125, and AJ Allmendinger down 129. Those latter drivers are in a must-win situation.
What did you say Ty Gibbs was? 125, right? Because I think 124 is the cut line. Ty Gibbs is already in a must-win. Kyle Busch and up, not necessarily, but realistically, there again, I think Ryan Preece and Chris Buescher, unfortunately, RFK teammate, are the two that would be battling as far as points if possible. Tyler Reddick is all but locked in. Again, for 2 races, 124, I think would be the max.
Yeah.
And he's 117 to the good. Yeah. So, all but locked in. It would have to absolutely be a destructive 2 races for him to not get in. Alex Bowman at 60 is sitting pretty solid. Again, 30 points per race to gain. Not exactly likely. And if it were just Daytona we were talking about, we know what kind of disasters can happen there. But Richmond isn't that way. So the focus will be, I think, Alex Bowman, but pretty much Chris Buescher and Ryan Preece. Just on the statistics. I know the next gen car doesn't favor it, but Kyle Busch does have a pretty good history, as does Brad Keselowski, who's in 19 points. Again, unfortunately for Brad, gets the win, gets in. It's going to knock one of his teammates and teams he owns out.
That's very true. So we'll see what happens this weekend, Saturday night at Richmond Raceway. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And then looking at the schedule, you said it, they're going to close up this schedule at Daytona the following week. So that's going to be their regular season finale. And
that's one of those where, say, in one race, it would be 62 points. If you're right on the verge of that, that's one where you say, okay, you'd have to finish last, driver would have to win or gain max points. We know what can happen at Daytona. So finishing last at Daytona, not outside the realm of possibilities for any driver. So, that one I'd be a little worried unless I were above that 62 points. Well, that one I say is more than mathematical because we know what Daytona can be like.
Yes, indeed. So we'll see how that plays out. Anything else you want to talk about here before we move on?
No, I think it'll be interesting. Again, I think there are a couple drivers. We talked about, could we get 2 new winners in this final 2 races? We know Daytona opened that up, definitely could, as we've seen in the past. Richmond is not as much. However, again, I go back to Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski. Unfortunately, I would say right now with Kyle Busch, what we've seen from the team, even when we see good qualifying, they still just throughout the day just don't seem to have the luck or momentum. Brad Keselowski, on the other hand, I feel like he has absolutely been knocking on the door to get that win. So it wouldn't surprise me. However, there's very solid drivers above him that either already have wins or are in a good points position that we've seen winning or being really close as well. Yeah. So I would have to say probably not at Richmond. Daytona, absolutely a possibility. So I think we're only going to get 1, which means there's 2 of those drivers that are going to get in on points. That's my prediction.
I think Richmond is going to be a repeat winner. And I do think the race at Daytona is just up in the air. Anybody could win it. Now, that's Denny Hamlin's home track. So it's not going to surprise me if Denny doesn't separate himself from Shane Van Gisbergen with that 1 additional win.
And I think I said that on Monday when we were talking during Hot Topics. Again, whether he's your favorite driver or not, statistically speaking, especially since he tried something a little different at Watkins Glen. It did not go well, didn't have the best of days. A lot of times driver want to come back with a vengeance, and we could see that from Denny Hamlin. If I'm not mistaken, was that the first place he beat everybody's favorite driver? Was that the first track where he said that? It might be. I don't remember.
Okay, do watch for more coming soon here at Bamford Racing Radio. We're doing all the previews, 3 races this weekend, 2 at Richmond with the Truck Series and Cup Series, and then the Arkham and Art Series racing out at Illinois State Fairgrounds on dirt this weekend, and that's our preview that's coming up next. And then on Friday, Taz and I will be doing the fantasy report to help you with your fantasy picks for the NASCAR Cup Series. And on the other side of the weekend of racing, we'll be back again with the reviews for all 3 of those races, as well as our Hot Topic Sound Off at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, a live stream where Jay and I will be talking about the hottest topics in NASCAR. We don't want to leave without also saying thank you to everybody for tuning in. We do appreciate each and every one of you, and we hope to see you in our next video. So with that, Jay, I think we're ready to move on.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. We'll talk dirt. You know I like to do that.
Yeah, we'll be talking dirt in the next video. Take care, everybody.